In early 2001, Sega discontinued the Dreamcast and officially abandoned all console hardware manufacturing operations. This decision ended a decades-long war against Nintendo and Sony, one starting in the late 80s. The Genesis had once challenged Nintendo dominance across North American living rooms with aggressive tactics. Yet internal mismanagement and hardware fragmentation slowly eroded their market share before the final shutdown started. Sega's roots reach back to American Standard Games, supplying coin machines to military bases in 1940. Service Games of Japan followed in the 50s, selling coin-operated machines to American servicemen overseas. Martin Bromley and Richard Stewart founded Nihon Goraku Busan on June 3, 1960 in Tokyo. They acquired Rosen Enterprises in 1965 to officially become the newly named Sega Enterprises Limited. Sega's first coin-operated game, Periscope, successfully launched in 1966 and became a massive arcade hit. Gulf and Western Industries purchased the growing firm in 1969 to bring it under their corporate umbrella. Executives David Rosen and Hayao Nakayama led a management buyout with CSK backing in 1984. From 1983 until 2001, Sega developed its own consoles, including the SG-1000 and Master System. They released the Mega Drive in Japan during October 1988 to compete directly against rivals. North American gamers received the same unit as the Genesis following its August 1989 market entry. After Sonic the Hedgehog released in 1991, the Genesis briefly outsold the Super Nintendo console in the US. Despite initial success in the US market, the Mega Drive fared poorly against the Nintendo Super Famicom in Japan. The company faced major setbacks with commercial failures like the controversial 32X hardware add-on. The Saturn followed with complex architecture that caused many developers to struggle to create compatible titles efficiently. These stumbles drained consumer trust and cash reserves through the mid-90s, setting up one final gamble. The Sega Saturn launched prematurely at E3 1995, causing significant retailer backlash across the network. The Sony PlayStation entered the market shortly after. Sony offered simpler development tools for third-party publishers. Sega lost the console war despite innovative hardware because software support dwindled greatly during this specific period. Marketing campaigns highlighted technical specs like blast processing to effectively differentiate systems from all competitors. Price wars ensued as Sega dropped console costs aggressively to gain prime shelf space for retailers. Retailers preferred Nintendo titles due to established trust and broader relationships with third-party developers. Divisions between Japanese and American branches created conflicting strategies that severely hindered long-term planning efforts. The Dreamcast arrived with superior graphics, but high unit costs limited initial adoption rates significantly. Online play was a unique feature, allowing players to connect globally for competitive multiplayer sessions. The looming Sony PlayStation 2 threatened Sega's new hardware with DVD playback and massive multimedia hype. Piracy emerged as a major issue affecting software sales revenue streams across the entire installed base. Third-party publishers began shifting focus towards Sony platforms where development tools proved simpler for creators. Financial losses mounted rapidly throughout the 1999 fiscal year as competition intensified significantly across all sectors. Executives debated whether to continue hardware production or focus solely on third-party software publishing moving forward. Stock prices fell sharply as investors lost confidence in the company's ability to recover substantial market share. Reports surfaced suggesting a merger partner might be needed to salvage all remaining business assets now. Sammy Corporation expressed interest in acquiring Sega following Sega's complete exit from the console manufacturing sector. Negotiations proceeded quietly while Sega announced plans to discontinue Dreamcast production effective in early 2001. The final console units were shipped out of factories before the division officially ceased operations. The legacy transition began as the company moved to developing video game titles for competing hardware platforms. In October 2004, Sega officially merged operations with Sammy Corporation under one holding company. Sega Sammy Holdings was established to oversee the combined entertainment assets and manage future investments. Sega Sammy shares began trading on the Tokyo Stock Exchange, closing the book on Sega's hardware era. The unified leadership prioritized software development while avoiding further risks associated with console manufacturing hardware. Sega began releasing games on rival platforms, including Sony PlayStation and Microsoft Xbox systems. Iconic franchises like Sonic the Hedgehog eventually appeared on consoles manufactured by their former hardware rivals. The amusement division maintained a strong presence within Japanese arcade cabinets and entertainment centers nationwide. New intellectual properties emerged to diversify revenue streams beyond the established mascot character lineup. The company continued to release new software franchises to maintain their presence in the changing global gaming market. Personal computer distribution channels opened up, allowing broader global access to digital storefronts. Smartphone adoption rates surged, creating new opportunities for casual mobile game development and monetization. Sega released numerous free-to-play titles designed specifically for touchscreen devices across app stores. During the late 2010s, strategic partnerships formed, allowing exclusive content releases on Nintendo Switch systems. Fan-made enthusiasm for classic styles led to official projects that revived the traditional 2D gameplay format. Amusement machines evolved into networked systems connecting players across different locations via online infrastructure. Claw crane operations became a significant revenue source within Japanese entertainment facility chains nationwide. Merchandise licensing deals expanded the brand visibility through clothing lines and collectible figures worldwide. European operations remained headquartered in London and managed regional publishing and distribution contracts. Each year, North American divisions focused on marketing campaigns for major releases during the holiday shopping seasons. The company acquired various external development studios to bolster internal production capacity and creative output. Notable acquisitions included DIMPS and other partners contributing technical expertise for porting projects globally. Live service models shifted focus toward online multiplayer engagement and recurring microtransaction revenue streams. Football Manager series became a dominant force in the sports simulation management genre worldwide. Sports titles continued to compete against established franchises from Electronic Arts and other publishers. Miniature console replicas brought back the Genesis experience with preloaded classic games for nostalgia fans. Archival projects preserved original arcade code to ensure historical game mechanics remained accessible digitally. Cloud streaming services were tested as potential distribution methods for hardware-independent gameplay experiences. Virtual reality headsets received support through dedicated software titles exploring immersive interaction possibilities. Annual financial reports showed stabilized revenue streams compared to the previously volatile hardware manufacturing era. Shareholders received consistent dividends, reflecting the steady profitability of the software and arcade divisions. Executive management rotated through various roles, ensuring strategic direction aligned with constantly evolving market demands. Sonic Team underwent restructuring to accelerate development cycles and meet global release schedules annually. Cross-platform functionality allowed players on different devices to compete together in shared online environments. Competitive gaming tournaments featured Sega titles alongside industry-standard competitors within the esports ecosystem. Collaborations with theme parks introduced physical attractions based on popular video game characters and worlds. Sega's own Joypolis indoor theme parks in Japan kept characters alive through physical ride experiences. Animated series and films were produced to expand the narrative universe beyond interactive gameplay screens. The 2005 purchase of Creative Assembly brought the Total War series and serious PC strategy muscle. Buying Atlas in 2013 added the Persona role-playing series to the growing publishing portfolio. Global expansion efforts continue to push digital software sales into emerging markets and new demographic sectors. Software revenue streams now dominate the balance sheet far more than legacy hardware divisions did. This shift allows deeper investment into single-player experiences without relying on system annual sales volumes. Western audiences increasingly embrace Japanese role-playing games following localized releases of major franchises. The Persona series became a significant driver for digital distribution channels across multiple platforms recently. Porting classic titles to modern systems generates steady passive income from nostalgia-driven consumer spending habits. Mobile gaming remains a volatile sector, where retention rates often significantly dictate long-term profitability. Some free-to-play experiments faced criticism for aggressive monetization tactics within mobile application stores worldwide. Recent acquisitions of development studios aim to expand original intellectual property creation capabilities globally. Partnerships with Western publishers facilitate better marketing reach outside traditional Japanese domestic market boundaries. Arcade locations have transformed into entertainment hubs, offering VR experiences instead of simple cabinet rentals. Physical merchandise sales complement digital downloads to create diversified revenue streams for the brand ecosystem. Licensing deals with fashion retailers bring iconic character designs onto streetwear collections internationally now. Collaborations with major music artists significantly extend Sonic branding far beyond traditional video game soundtracks. Modern digital platforms provided extensive visibility for older legacy titles that had remained obscure for many years. Subscription services like Game Pass include legacy back catalogs accessible through monthly recurring payment models. This accessibility introduces classic gameplay mechanics to audiences who never owned original consoles during the era. Despite software success, competition from rival publishers remains fierce within the saturated digital marketplace environment. Development costs for high-fidelity games continue rising exponentially, exceeding previous generation project budgets. Balancing budget constraints with quality expectations creates constant pressure on internal production management teams daily. Outsourcing assets to external partners helps manage workload without expanding permanent headcount numbers excessively. Artificial intelligence integration promises to reduce repetitive tasks during level design and texture creation phases. Ethical concerns regarding automated content generation spark ongoing debates across the broader gaming industry community. Fan preservation efforts keep old code running on modern hardware, despite support officially ending long ago. The company acknowledges these communities while strictly maintaining legal boundaries around emulation and distribution rights. Retro compilations primarily serve as an authorized bridge between nostalgic collectors and modern digital storefronts. Limited edition releases often sell out quickly due to extremely high collector interest levels. Corporate strategy now consistently prioritizes maintaining brand legacy over chasing cutting-edge hardware innovation cycles. This approach mitigates financial risk associated with developing proprietary technology that might fail commercially again. Shareholders prefer steady software dividends rather than volatile investments in unproven console manufacturing lines today. The corporate focus eventually shifted heavily toward software publishing and managing their extensive catalog of legacy characters. Future plans hint at expanded virtual reality projects leveraging existing character libraries for new audiences. Metaverse initiatives remain experimental concepts rather than concrete product roadmaps within the current corporate agenda. The Sonic movie trilogy carried the mascot to global box office success far beyond gaming. Rebranding Yakuza as Like a Dragon won the crime saga its biggest Western audience yet. Cultural authenticity in storytelling matters more to international audiences than at any point in history. Localization teams work harder to preserve original nuances while adapting dialogue for Western language regions. Translation quality directly impacts player reception and critical review scores across major gaming publication outlets. Community feedback loops are integrated earlier into development cycles to prevent costly post-launch patches later. Early access programs provide valuable data points that shape final release configurations prior to launch. Testing phases expand significantly with more players involved before the final version is publicly available. Modern platform holders still study how Sega's hardware empire unraveled during the fierce 90s console wars. Sega survived the hardware collapse by pivoting entirely toward third-party software licensing strategies instead. The company successfully transitioned its most valuable intellectual property onto other systems after leaving the console market. Sonic the Hedgehog remained the flagship mascot while other characters faded into obscurity over time. Recent titles like Sonic Frontiers generated significant revenue despite mixed critical reception from reviewers globally. Financial data indicates publishing revenue consistently outperforms remaining hardware interests held by the corporation. The Sega brand continues to exist primarily as a publisher for external development studios today. Licensing deals with other platforms ensure the franchise remains accessible across multiple competing ecosystems now. Nostalgia drives significant sales when classic archives are regularly released for modern gaming audiences. Collectors pay premium prices for original units that once define a specific generation of players. This enduring legacy proves hardware failures do not necessarily erase cultural impact or brand identity. The console war shaped the entire industry landscape we interact with in current digital spaces. History remembers the king of arcades not for the hardware loss, but the games created.